The morning was quiet, but inside the small apartment, hunger was louder than any sound. Maria stood in the tiny kitchen, staring at an empty shelf. The wooden cabinet door was open, but there was nothing inside. No rice, no bread, not even a single potato. She slowly closed the cabinet and opened the fridge. Cold air touched her face, but the fridge was almost empty. Only a bottle of water and a small piece of onion sat on the corner shelf. She held the onion in her hand for a moment, then placed it back. Behind her, at the old wooden table, her two children sat quietly. They were used to waiting. They were used to seeing their mother search for food with worried eyes. Her younger son, Leo, was only 6 years old. His cheeks looked thinner than before. He watched his mother carefully. "Mama, is breakfast ready?" he asked in a soft voice. Maria turned around quickly and forced a smile. "Yes, my love. Soon," she said gently, but her heart was heavy. Her daughter, Sophia, who was 9, did not ask anything. She was old enough to understand. She knew when there was no food. She knew when her mother was trying not to cry. Maria turned back toward the stove. She placed an empty pot on it and lit the fire, even though there was nothing to cook. She did not want her children to lose hope. The sound of the fire burning under an empty pot filled the room. Maria had not eaten properly in 2 days. The last bread they had, she gave to her children the night before. She told them she was not hungry, but she was. Her stomach hurt. Her body felt weak, but the pain inside her heart was worse. She walked to the small mirror near the door. She looked at her reflection. Her face looked tired. Dark circles were under her eyes. But her hair was long, thick, and beautiful. It fell down her back like a golden curtain. People always admired it. "You have such lovely hair," neighbors used to say. She touched it slowly. It was the only beautiful thing she felt she still had. Suddenly, Leo's small voice broke her thoughts. "Mama, I am very hungry," he whispered. Maria closed her eyes. That sentence felt like a knife in her chest. She walked to the table and knelt beside him. She held his small hands in hers. "I know, my baby," she said softly. "Mama will fix this." But how? She had already sold her phone last month to pay the electricity bill. She had already borrowed money from the neighbor downstairs. She still owed rent. She had searched for work every day, but no one wanted to hire her. Some said she did not have enough education. Others said they already had workers. She felt trapped. Outside the window, people walked by. Some carried coffee cups. Some held shopping bags filled with food. Life outside looked normal. But inside this small room, life felt like it was falling apart. Sophia stood up quietly and walked to her mother. "Mama, I can skip breakfast," she said bravely. "I am not that hungry." Maria felt tears fill her eyes. Her children were trying to protect her. She hugged both of them tightly. "No," she said firmly. "You will eat." She stood up slowly. Her eyes moved around the room as if the answer might be hiding somewhere. Then her eyes stopped at the mirror again. At her hair. Her breathing became slower. She remembered something she once heard. Some beauty shops buy hair. It sounded crazy at first. But was it really? Hair grows back. But hunger does not wait. She walked back to the mirror and held her hair in both hands. It reached almost to her waist. It had taken years to grow this long. It was part of her identity. But what was more important? Beauty or her children's full stomachs? She looked at Leo and Sophia again. Leo was rubbing his small stomach. Sophia was pretending to read an old book to forget her hunger. Maria felt something change inside her. Fear turned into strength. Slowly, she tied her hair into a thick braid. Her hands were shaking. She took her old coat from the hook near the door. "Where are you going, Mama?" Sophia asked. "I will be back soon," Maria said softly. "Take care of your brother." She bent down and kissed both of their foreheads. When she stepped outside, cold air hit her face. She walked down the street, her heart beating fast. Each step felt heavy. She did not know how much money she would get. She did not know if it would be enough. But she knew one thing. Today, hunger had spoken louder than pride, and she was ready to listen. She did not see the man standing across the street, watching her quietly. She did not know that this day, this painful, difficult day, was about to change her life forever. And she did not know that someone had just seen the true power of a mother's love. Maria walked quickly through the busy streets of the town. She kept her head down so no one would see her face clearly. Her long braid rested over her shoulder, felt heavier than usual, as if it knew what was about to happen. Cars passed by. People laughed. Shops were open. The world looked normal. But inside Maria's heart, there was a storm. She stopped in front of a small beauty shop at the corner of the street. The glass window showed pictures of women with perfect hairstyles. Bright lights filled the inside. For a moment, she almost turned around. Her pride whispered, "Don't do this." But hunger shouted louder. She took a deep breath and pushed the door open. A small bell rang above her head. Inside, the shop smelled like shampoo and hairspray. A young woman was sitting in a chair, getting her hair styled for a party. She looked happy. The shop owner, a middle-aged man with glasses, looked up. "Yes?" he asked. Maria's hands felt cold. She swallowed hard. I heard you buy hair," she said quietly. The man studied her braid carefully. He stood up and walked closer. "Let me see," he said. Maria slowly untied her braid. Her long hair fell down her back like a golden waterfall. It reached almost to her waist. The shop owner's eyes widened slightly. "It is very healthy," he said. "Very strong." He touched it gently, checking its length and thickness. "I can pay you," he added. Then he told her the amount. Maria's heart sank. It was not a large amount of money, not enough to solve everything, but enough to buy food, enough to see her children smile again. She closed her eyes for a moment. "Yes," she whispered. The man pointed to a chair. "Sit." Maria sat down slowly. She looked at herself in the big mirror in front of her. Her long hair covered the back of the chair. The young woman in the other chair stared at her with surprise. Maria felt embarrassed. The shop owner picked up the scissors. The sound of metal opening and closing echoed in the quiet shop. Maria's fingers tightened on the armrest. "Are you sure?" the man asked. Maria thought of Leo's small voice. "Mama, I am very hungry." "Yes," she said firmly. The first cut was the hardest. The scissors sliced through her thick hair with a sharp sound. She felt the weight leave her shoulders in 1 second. Her heart felt even heavier. Piece by piece, her hair fell to the floor. Long golden strands lay on the white tiles like something precious that had been thrown away. Maria stared at her reflection. With every cut, the woman in the mirror looked different. Shorter hair, thinner face, sad eyes. Tears rolled down her cheeks quietly, but she did not make a sound. She was not crying for beauty. She was crying for the life she wished she could give her children. When the man finished, her hair was just above her shoulders. She barely recognized herself. The shop owner gathered the long-cut braid and placed it into a plastic bag. Then he handed her the money. She held the cash tightly in her hand. "Thank you," she said softly. Her voice was calm now, because she knew why she had done this. When she stepped outside, the sun felt brighter than before. She took a deep breath and wiped her tears. Across the street, a black car was parked quietly. Inside the car, a man watched her carefully. His name was Daniel. He had seen her walk into the shop with long hair. He saw her walk out with short hair and red eyes. He understood immediately. This was not fashion. This was sacrifice. Daniel had not planned to stop there. He had only come to town for a business meeting. But something about Maria caught his attention. Maybe it was the way she held the money so tightly. Maybe it was the sadness in her eyes. Or maybe it was the memory of his own mother, who once sold her wedding ring to feed him. Daniel felt something move inside his heart. He watched as Maria walked quickly toward the grocery store down the street. She did not stop anywhere else. She did not look at clothes. She did not look at shoes. She did not buy coffee. She went straight to buy food. Daniel stepped out of his car slowly. He told himself he was only curious, only watching. nothing more. But deep inside, he already knew this day would not end as a simple day. Maria entered the grocery store with shaking hands. She picked up rice, eggs, milk, and bread. Basic things. Necessary things. She counted the money carefully with every item she placed into the basket. Outside the store window, Daniel stood quietly. He saw everything, and for the first time in many years, his heart felt heavy. Because he knew one thing very clearly. This was not just a poor woman selling her hair. This was a mother fighting against hunger. And hunger had just lost one battle. But Daniel was about to make sure it would lose the war. Maria walked home slowly, holding 2 heavy grocery bags in her hands. Each step felt different from the morning. In the morning, her hands were empty. Now they were full. Rice, bread, eggs, milk, a small pack of chicken. It was not luxury, but it was life. Her short hair moved gently with the wind. Every time she felt it touch her neck, she remembered what she had lost. But when she looked at the grocery bags, she reminded herself what she had gained. Food for her children. As she reached the apartment building, she saw her reflection in the glass door. She looked different, not weaker, stronger, because she had chosen love over pride. She climbed the stairs quickly. Her children were waiting. Before she could knock, the door opened suddenly. Leo ran into her arms. "Mama!" he shouted. Sophia stood behind him, her eyes wide. They both saw the bags. Then they saw her hair. Leo froze. "Mama, your hair is gone," he said softly. Maria smiled gently and bent down. "It will grow again," she said. "But you need food now." She walked into the kitchen and placed the groceries on the table. Sophia covered her mouth with her hand. "Mama, how?" she whispered. Maria did not answer the full truth. She simply said, "Mama found a way." She began cooking immediately. The sound of oil in the pan filled the room. The smell of chicken cooking made Leo jump with excitement. He stood beside the stove, watching every move. Sophia set the table carefully, like it was a special day. Because to them it was. When the food was ready, Maria served her children first. Big portions. She gave herself the smallest piece. They began eating quickly. Leo closed his eyes after the first bite. "It's so good," he said with a full mouth. Sophia smiled for the first time in days. Maria watched them silently. She did not eat at first. She just looked. Their small hands holding spoons. Their happy faces. The way they forgot about hunger in just one moment. Tears filled her eyes again. But this time they were different tears. Not of pain. Of relief. Outside the apartment, Daniel stood across the street. He had followed her from the grocery store. He did not know why he was still there. He could have left. He could have returned to his expensive hotel room. But something kept him standing there. Through the small window, he saw the family sitting around the table. He saw the short hair. He saw the children eating happily. He saw Maria smiling even though her eyes were tired. Daniel felt something break inside him. He remembered a night from his childhood. He was 8 years old. His mother had no money for food. That night, she told him she was not hungry. But later, he saw her drinking water just to fill her stomach. The next day, she sold her only gold ring. He never forgot that moment. Standing there now, Daniel felt like time had moved backward, like he was watching his own past. But this time, he was not the hungry child. He was the man with power to change something. Inside the apartment, dinner was almost finished. Leo leaned back in his chair and smiled. "Mama, this is the best food ever." Sophia looked at Maria carefully. "Mama, did it hurt?" she asked quietly. Maria paused. She touched her short hair gently. "Yes," she said honestly. "But seeing you eat, that makes the pain small." Sophia stood up and hugged her mother tightly. Leo joined them. The 3 of them stood in the small kitchen, holding each other. It was not a perfect home. The walls were old. The lights were dim. But in that moment it felt warm. Outside, Daniel wiped his eyes quickly. He had built companies. He had signed million-dollar contracts. He had made powerful decisions. But nothing had moved his heart like this simple dinner. He looked at the building again. He asked himself one question. What if no one had helped his mother back then? Where would he be today? Maybe still hungry. Maybe without education. Maybe without hope. He understood something very clearly now. This was not charity. This was a second chance. And sometimes one small second chance can change an entire future. Inside, Maria finally took a small bite of food. She chewed slowly. For the first time in 2 days, her stomach felt something warm. Her body felt weak, but her heart felt strong. She did not know that someone outside had just made a decision that would soon knock on her door, a decision that would do more than fill her kitchen. It would fill her life with something she had almost lost: hope. That night, as Maria put her children to sleep, she whispered a quiet prayer. "Thank you for today," she said softly. She did not know who was listening, but someone was, and tomorrow everything was about to change. That night, Daniel could not sleep. He lay in his large hotel bed, staring at the ceiling. The room was quiet. Soft lights glowed on the walls. Everything around him was comfortable, but his heart was not. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Maria sitting at that small table. He saw her short hair. He saw the children eating like it was the best day of their lives. He turned to his side and sighed. Why did this woman affect him so much? He had seen poverty before. He had donated money before. He had signed many checks for charity events. But this felt different. This felt personal. Daniel got out of bed and walked to the window. The city lights shone below him. Cars moved. People laughed somewhere far away. He remembered his own childhood again. His mother worked as a cleaner in a hospital. She woke up before sunrise and returned home after dark. She never complained. But one night, he heard her crying quietly in the kitchen. There was no food in the house. The next morning, her wedding ring was gone. When he asked about it, she smiled and said, "I lost it." But he knew the truth. That sacrifice pushed him to study harder, to work harder, to promise himself that one day, he would never let his mother suffer again. And he kept that promise. Now he was rich, successful, respected. But standing outside Maria's home earlier that day, he realized something painful. Many mothers were still fighting the same battles, and not all of them had someone to help. Daniel picked up his phone. He looked at his contacts. He could easily send money. He could easily give her cash. But something stopped him. He did not want to make her feel small. He did not want her to feel like a beggar. He had seen the way she held herself. Even in pain, she had dignity. He respected that. So he decided to do something smarter, something long-term. The next morning, Daniel did not go to his business meeting. Instead, he returned to the neighborhood. He parked his car a little farther away this time. He watched as Maria left the apartment building. She wore a simple coat and walked quickly. Her shoulders looked tired, but her steps were strong. Daniel followed from a distance. Maria went from shop to shop asking for work. "Do you need help?" she asked politely. Some people shook their heads. Some did not even let her finish speaking. At one store, the manager looked at her short hair and said, "We need someone more presentable." Maria lowered her eyes and walked away quietly. Daniel felt anger rise inside him. They could not see her strength. They could not see her courage. They only saw her appearance. After hours of walking, Maria sat on a bench at a bus stop. She looked exhausted. She rubbed her hands together to stay warm. Daniel watched her for a moment. Then he made a call. "Hello," he said calmly. "I need information about local schools in this area, especially about scholarship programs." He listened carefully. "Yes," he continued, "and I also need details about small business job openings." Quietly. When he ended the call, his face looked serious. He was building something, not just a gift, a future. Later that day, Maria returned home again without work. But she still smiled when she opened the door. Leo ran to her. Sophia showed her a drawing she had made. Maria hugged them both tightly. Daniel stood across the street again. But this time, he was not just watching. He was planning. He thought carefully. If he gave her money once, it would help for a few months. But if he gave her stability, it could change everything. He remembered his mother's words. Help someone in a way that lets them stand on their own. That sentence echoed in his mind. Daniel went back to his car and opened his laptop. He searched for open positions in his own company branch nearby. There was a small office only 15 minutes away. They needed an assistant for document filing and customer calls. Simple work, fair pay, flexible hours, perfect for a single mother. He smiled slightly, but he was not finished yet. He also contacted the principal of the local school. He offered to sponsor 2 children anonymously. Full support, books, uniforms, meals. No one needed to know his name. He did not want praise. He wanted change. As evening came, Daniel drove away slowly. For the first time since he arrived in town, his heart felt lighter. Because he knew something Maria did not. Her sacrifice had not gone unseen. Her pain had not been ignored. And very soon, there would be a knock on her door. But this knock would not bring pity. It would bring opportunity. Inside her small apartment, Maria was helping Sophia with homework. Leo was drawing on a piece of paper. They were laughing about something small and simple. Maria looked at her children and felt tired but peaceful. She did not know that someone had spent the entire day thinking about her future. The next morning started like any other. Maria woke up before the sun. The room was still dark. She sat quietly on the edge of her bed, listening to her children breathe. For a moment, she allowed herself to feel tired. Her body still ached from hunger and stress. Her heart still carried worry. But she stood up anyway, because mothers do not get to stay tired for long. She prepared a small breakfast using what was left from yesterday. A little rice, some milk, a piece of bread cut into 3 small parts. Leo and Sophia ate quietly. "Mama, will you find work today?" Sophia asked softly. Maria smiled. "Yes," she said. "I will try again." After they left for school, Maria cleaned the small apartment. She washed dishes. She folded clothes. She tried to keep her mind busy. But deep inside, fear was growing again. What if no one hired her? What if the money ran out? What would she sell next? She touched her short hair without thinking. There was nothing else left to give. Suddenly, knock, knock. The sound was soft but clear. Maria froze. She was not expecting anyone. Her heart began to beat faster. Maybe it was the landlord. Maybe it was someone asking for payment. She walked slowly to the door. Knock, knock. This time louder. She opened the door carefully. But no one was there. The hallway was empty. Her heart sank in confusion. Then she looked down. 2 large grocery bags were sitting on the floor. Fresh vegetables, fruits, bread, meat, even snacks. Maria covered her mouth with her hand. She quickly looked left and right. "Hello?" she called softly. No answer. Then she noticed an envelope placed on top of the bags. Her hands were shaking as she picked it up. Inside was money. More money than she had ever held at one time. Her breathing became uneven. There was also a small piece of paper. On it, simple words were written. For a mother who chose love over pride. Maria felt her knees become weak. She leaned against the door for support. Tears fell down her face. Who would do this? Why? She had told no one about selling her hair. She had asked no one for help. Her first thought was fear. Was this a mistake? Was someone playing with her feelings? But the groceries were real. The money was real. The note felt honest. Maria slowly carried the bags inside. She placed everything on the table. Her eyes kept moving to the envelope again and again. She did not know whether to feel happy or scared. Across the street, inside a parked car, Daniel watched quietly. His hands rested on the steering wheel. He saw her open the door. He saw her shock. He saw her tears. And he felt something warm in his chest. But he was not smiling. He was thinking, because this was only the first step. Inside the apartment, Maria sat at the table and counted the money again. It was enough to pay 2 months of rent. Enough to breathe. Enough to rest for the first time in weeks. But something inside her felt uneasy. She did not want to depend on unknown kindness. She wanted to stand on her own feet. When the children returned from school that afternoon, they stopped at the door. "Mama!" Leo shouted. "Where did all this food come from?" Sophia looked confused. "Did you find work?" Maria shook her head slowly. "I don't know who sent it," she admitted. The children stared at her. "Maybe it's magic," Leo said with wide eyes. Maria laughed softly through her tears. "Maybe," she whispered. That evening they ate together again. But this time there was more food than needed. Maria felt grateful, but she also felt watched. Not in a scary way, in a strange, protective way. After dinner there was another knock. Maria's heart jumped again. She walked to the door carefully. This time, a woman stood outside. She wore simple clothes and held a folder in her hand. "Hello," the woman said kindly. "I work at the local school." Maria's hands tightened around the door. "Is something wrong with my children?" The woman smiled. "No, it's good news." She opened the folder. "Your children have been selected for a special scholarship program." Maria blinked. "What program?" "Full school support," the woman explained. "Books, uniforms, meals, everything covered." Maria felt dizzy. "But how?" "We never applied." The woman smiled gently. "Sometimes, opportunities come quietly." Maria held the door frame to steady herself. 2 miracles in one day. This could not be random. Across the street, Daniel watched again. He saw the school worker leave. He saw Maria standing frozen at the door. He knew she was beginning to understand. This was not luck. This was intention. Inside the apartment, Maria hugged her children tightly. Something was changing. She could feel it, but she still did not know the face behind the kindness. And soon, she would. That night, Maria could not sleep. Too many things had happened in one day. The groceries, the money, the scholarships, felt like a dream. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft breathing of her children beside her. Her heart was full of gratitude, but it was also full of questions. Who was helping her? And why? The next morning, after sending Leo and Sophia to school, Maria decided she needed answers. She stepped outside and looked around carefully. The street looked normal. Cars passed. Neighbors walked their dogs. Nothing seemed different, but she felt it. Someone had seen her pain. Someone had acted. As she turned to go back inside, a voice spoke gently behind her. "Good morning." Maria turned quickly. A tall man stood a few steps away. He wore simple clothes today, not a suit. His face looked calm, but his eyes were serious. She recognized him. He was the man she had seen once outside the beauty shop. Her heart skipped. "Can I help you?" she asked carefully. The man nodded slowly. "My name is Daniel," he said, "and I believe I owe you an explanation." Maria felt her body grow tense. "You?" she whispered. Daniel did not step closer. He kept a respectful distance. "I was outside the beauty shop the day you sold your hair," he said quietly. Maria's face turned pale. She looked down at the ground. She felt exposed, ashamed. Daniel saw it immediately. "I am not here to embarrass you," he said quickly. "I am here because I saw something I will never forget." Maria looked up slowly. "What did you see?" she asked. "I saw a mother choose her children over herself." His voice was steady. "And I saw my own past." Maria blinked in confusion. Daniel took a deep breath. "When I was a child, my mother sold her wedding ring to feed me," he explained. "We were very poor. I remember the hunger. I remember the shame. I remember her pretending she was not hungry." Maria felt tears in her eyes again. Daniel continued. "I became successful later in life, but I never forgot what she did for me." He paused. "When I saw you that day, I saw her." Silence filled the space between them. Maria did not know what to say. Daniel spoke again. "The groceries were from me. The money was from me. The scholarships were from me." Maria's hand moved to her mouth. "You?" she whispered. Daniel nodded. "But I did not help you because you are weak," he said firmly. "I helped you because you are strong." Maria felt something break inside her. all the fear, all the pride, all the shame, poured out in tears. "I did not want pity," she said through trembling lips. "You are not receiving pity," Daniel replied calmly. "You are receiving respect." The word respect stayed in the air. Maria looked at him carefully now. There was no pride in his face, no superiority, only understanding. Daniel continued, "I do not want to give you short help," he said. "I want to give you opportunity." Maria wiped her tears. "What do you mean?" "There is a small office near here," Daniel explained. "It belongs to my company. We need someone organized, someone responsible, someone who understands responsibility." Maria's heart began to beat faster again. "I have no high education," she said softly. "You have discipline. You have courage. You have love," Daniel replied. "Skills can be learned. Character cannot." Maria felt a small spark of hope inside her chest. "I would never want you to feel dependent," Daniel added. "This is not charity. It is employment." Maria looked toward her apartment window. She imagined her children studying without fear, eating without worry, sleeping without hunger. "What would I need to do?" she asked quietly. "Basic office work," Daniel said. "Filing documents, answering calls, flexible hours so you can care for your children." Maria's eyes filled with tears again, not from sadness, from relief. "I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. Daniel smiled gently. "You already did." She looked confused. "When you chose your children that day," he explained, "you reminded me why my mother fought so hard. You reminded me who I used to be." Maria stood in silence. For the first time in many months, the future did not look dark. It looked possible. Daniel extended his hand. "Will you accept the job?" Maria looked at his hand. Then she shook it. "Yes," she said firmly. In that moment, something changed. Not just for her, but for her children. And maybe even for Daniel. Because sometimes, helping someone does not only change their life, it heals your own past. As Daniel walked away that morning, Maria stood still for a moment. The same street, the same building, but everything felt different. Hunger had once spoken the loudest in her life. Now hope was speaking louder. And this time, she was ready to listen.